Peace, family. It's good to be back. Let's get to work. Today, we want to talk about resolutions for Black America. As we approach this so-called new year, I think that it's incumbent upon us to look at this term new year and really give some thought to what it means. If you're doing the same thing this year that you did last year, then in essence, it is not a new year. It's the same old warmed over process that you went through the year before in order to get the same results. So in order for there to be a new year, there has to be change. And if you're not willing to change, then we must stop wishing one another happy new year. We may as well wish one another happy last year, because if we're doing the same thing next year that we did or are doing this year, then it is not a new year. So we as a people have to make this thing personal. So as I go through these resolutions for Black America, these are resolutions that we as a community have to carry out, but at the same time, you and me, us as individuals, we have to first and foremost do our part if Black America is to achieve freedom, justice, and equality. So let's get started with some of these resolutions. The first resolution is, as a people, we must learn to disagree without being disrespectful. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that our unity is more powerful than any weapon on earth, and that 95% of our problems can be solved simply through our unity. But we cannot have unity if we are disrespectful to one another. Disrespect drives away the spirit of unity. So I oftentimes look at the way we relate to one another and communicate with one another on social media. If a brother or a sister makes an Instagram post and you disagree with that person's Instagram post, it's okay for you to be disagreeable, but why do you have to be so disrespectful? This is what I don't understand. The other day I made a post on Instagram and I was talking about the civil rights movement and how the brothers who were doing sit-ins and demanding that the white waitress bring them a cup of coffee in a restaurant that was reserved for whites only. I was asking the question, if she would have brought you the coffee, would you have been stupid enough to drink it? So a brother came onto my page and he took umbrage at my statement, and he said, it's easy for you to criticize a generation who fought for something when your generation hadn't fought for anything. STFU, be humble. Now, the STFU meant shut the F up and be humble. This is what he was saying to me. So I went back on my page and I explained to him that we honor those who fought in the civil rights movement, but at the same time, we have to be wise enough to learn from their mistakes. And in my comment to him, I said, I will overlook your disrespect. Well, not too long after I put up my post, he came back and he apologized for being disrespectful, and everything turned out okay. Now, I could have went back and forth with the dude, but had I gone back and forth with him, I would have only been pouring more negative energy into our community. And brothers and sisters, the last thing we need is more negative energy. So I illustrate that as a small example of how we have to do better with the way we treat one another. That's the first of our resolutions. We got to treat one another better. And as we are trying to achieve unity without uniformity, meaning respecting the different traditions that we as a people come from, if we can disagree without being disrespectful, then we can keep intact the spirit of unity that our people need if we are to overcome the challenges that face us. Number two, we must resolve to become a healthier people. Again, I'm talking about us as a whole, but let's also look at the man in the mirror. There's this thing that the young people have called YOLO. You only live once. And they use it as an excuse to be reckless. But really, when you recognize that you only live once, that means that you should be focused on making sure that this one life that you have is the best life that you can live. It's not about how long you live. It's about how well you live. So since you only live once, you may as well eat right. Since you only live once, you may as well take care of your body, which is the only temple of God that you really have. Exercise and work out and take care of yourself. Since you only live once, then pray and meditate, which would actually relieve the stress that causes us to have these health problems. As a people, we continue to be at the very top of every bad health category that you can think of. Heart disease, AIDS, diabetes, you name it, we're at the top. And it is because we have not made that firm, resolved decision to become a healthier people. So remember, disease does not run in the family. Eating habits do. And anything that runs in your family can run out of your family if we would simply change our habits. So resolution number two, we must resolve to become a healthier people. Number three, this probably should have been number one. We must be serious about security in our community. We must be serious, black men, about protecting our most precious assets. Our most precious assets are our people, particularly our women, our children, and our elders. They just released the report that stated that there has been a spike and an increase in hate crimes in America. Guess who the number one target of hate crimes is in America? Not Jewish people, not those in the LGBT community. The number one targets for hate crimes in America is Black America by a long shot. And you have to let it sink in your head that here we are 464 years up from slavery, and you're still the number one target for terrorism in this country. So we got to be serious about security. That means black men, we must come together and figure out a schedule to patrol our own neighborhoods. When we're not out there patrolling them physically, we have to put our monies together and make certain that there are surveillance cameras everywhere in our communities. So anybody that enters into the community, they must already understand that you are under surveillance from the time you come in to the time that you leave. And last but not least, let us not forget the law of self-preservation. It is the first law of nature. So when one of these white supremacist groups makes a decision that they want to come and take your life, be ready to defend what they came to take. Again, we're talking about self-defense and us being serious about security and the protection of our children. Number four, we got to get serious about the education of our children and educating our children properly. Education does not begin when your child goes to kindergarten. Education begins in the womb, okay? So what your child learns at school is actually an addendum or an addition to what that child has already been educated on at home. So we gotta go on the offense when it comes to educating our children, and we gotta stop being fools for these hustlers out here who are hustling our people in the name of education, charging you an arm and a leg to go to college to get a degree that you cannot use. We gotta stop being fools. We could take that same money and put it together and build trade schools in our community. Why? Because every black boy especially and black girl, and they should learn a trade that they can take and make a job for themselves and build a business using that trade. But as long as we continue to allow our children to be educated by our oppressor, we will continue to be oppressed. Number 5, economics. We got to make some resolutions when it comes to economics. We must build businesses in our community. We must increase the dollar circulation in our community. We must save and invest money. And we must stop consuming that which consumes us. What does that mean? That means that if you spent 10% of your income on alcohol, and yes, some of us do, well, you're consuming alcohol. You're coming in as a consumer, but you're buying that which is consuming you. When I say it's consuming you, I'm saying that it is consuming days off of your life, because you killing your health with the way you spend your money and the things that you take in. So don't spend your money on nothing that's killing you. Stop that right now, okay? That's what you call slow suicide. And if we could break some of these nasty habits that are putting us at a speedy pace into the grave, then we can save a lot of money. And let's just say we all decide to, like Frederick Douglass said, boycott these holidays that really only promote slave culture. Well, when we boycott Christmas spending, if you have 20 people who live on one block and they decide, you know what, that $2,000 that I was going to spend on Christmas, I want to put it in a pot with these 19 others. And if 20 of you put $2,000 into a pot, you was just going to throw it away anyway. Now you've got $40,000. You could take that 40 grand and buy a vacant lot and build an urban garden on the vacant lot, and you can feed your family for years. See, we got to think economically smart, brothers and sisters. So we have to do things differently if there's going to be a new year in the black community economically. If the dollar continues to only circulate for 6 hours in our community in this coming year, then that's not a new year. We might as well wish one another happy last year instead of happy new year. Number 6, we got to continue pushing for this cultural revolution. I recently saw a tweet by our brother Meek Mill, who was literally put through the ringer of the criminal justice system. They gave this brother several years in jail for probation violation that has something to do with him popping a willie in New York. So there was a free Meek Mill campaign. Our brother is free and he's doing positive things. But he put out a tweet the other day challenging all of the other rap artists to, instead of having a lifestyle challenge associated with money, cars, and jewelry, let's have a financial challenge where we challenge one another to level up on property investment, land acquisition, stocks and bonds. See, these things that will grow our, families into generational wealth. See, these are the kind of challenges that we need in order for us to have a cultural revolution. I like what our brother Nipsey Hussle is doing on the entrepreneurship tip, if you will, excuse my language. But there are a lot of brothers out here in the rap game that are taking the lead and teaching our young people how to become better business persons and entrepreneurs. So if we focus on these positive things, sooner or later you'll begin to see less of our sisters being called the B word and whores and all of these other culturally degrading things in our, culture. So we got to make certain that we push hard for that. And those of you who consume this rap music, you need to put pressure on these artists and these celebrities to level up when it comes to black consciousness and when it comes to black progress. We got to build conflict resolution centers in our community. This is number 7. I don't need to go on a long tirade about how if they keep killing us and we keep killing us, then there will be no more us. Every church should be a conflict resolution center. Every mosque should be a conflict resolution center. Every school cafeteria should be a conflict resolution center where we have well-respected mediators, some of them OGs, who step in and stop the beefs before the beefs become bloody and allow our young brothers and sisters to settle their differences before it gets out of hand. So we got to build those conflict resolution centers, and we got to do it now. Number 8, we want to see more baton passing going on in the community. We got to get back to the basics of each one, teach one. And when I say baton passing, I mean mentorship. I mean those who are black professionals. If you are not teaching at least one young person how to do what you do and do it better than you do it, then you're not doing what you should when it comes to what is necessary to but to relieve the suffering of our people. So don't be afraid to mentor somebody and pass the baton. See, this is a huge problem with black politicians. Black politicians want to be in office until they die. And so when they see young political talent coming up behind them, instead of embracing them and setting the stage for the passing of the baton, they hate on them and they block them and they try to stop their rise. But what you got to understand, black elected official, is that one day you gonna die. And if you pass off the scene and you haven't passed on in the right way, the things that you started on so that it could be finished by the next person that sits in that seat, you're doing the community a disservice. And it's high time that we stop electing black politicians who can't see past themselves. We got to pass the baton. Now, on that note, number 9, we got to develop a black political agenda, period, point blank. Until black America puts black America first, black America will always be last. We need a black political agenda, and the Democratic Party's agenda is not the black political agenda. So if we want to participate in the political process, that's fine. But if you do so, you have to do so from a position of power. So I don't care. You could be in a small black enclave. You could be in a black small town. Get the best and brightest of you, to come together at a table and just make a list of those things that your community need the most, that you need these elected officials to help you to accomplish. Now, let me say it again. Accomplishing it is our responsibility, okay? Not theirs. But it is their responsibility to go and get the resources to help us to do for ourselves. And you develop a black agenda. And just like Asian people, Jewish people, Latino people, and the LGBT community, just like they bring their agenda to not only politicians, but they bring their agenda to political parties, whoever can make a commitment to their agenda, then that's who should get their support. We got to stop giving away black votes like government cheese. If we don't do it this way, we'll be forever spinning our wheels, thinking that something is going to fall down from heaven, and I'm talking about Washington, D.C., to come to help us and to save us. The only ones that are going to save us is us. And if we want to extract resources from the political process, it's got to be through an unapologetic black agenda. Number 10. All right. We got to resolve to make certain that we keep black family strong. Divorces are on the rise, have been for many, 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 many years. And because the foundation of our families have been so disrupted, and some of it has been disrupted, yes, by ego, yes, by economics, but some of it just by socioeconomic conditions. Some of it has just been disrupted straight up by a carryover lifestyle from slavery, where we weren't even allowed to have a family. But brothers and sisters, you're allowed to have a family now. We got to do some serious work on our families, because where the family foundation is weak, our children will not get what it is that they need in the household. And if they don't get what they need in the household, they'll go out and get it in the streets. So the foundation of nation is strong family. And if we ever expect to be a people of substance, we got to make certain that we are found working hard to strengthen our families. I know it ain't easy, but it is possible. Number 11. I have this idea, that everybody should strive to inspire one person a day. Just one person a day. Of course, platforms like this that have several 100,000 followers, we get the opportunity, the grand opportunity of inspiring hundreds of thousands of people. But not everybody is positioned as such to where they can be on a platform like this. But everybody can inspire at least one person a day. And if you inspire one person a day and you live to be 75 years old, I think you will have inspired, I want to say 37,000 people. I did the numbers. I may be calculating it wrong. Somebody calculated for me and put it in the comments. But you will have inspired several battalions of people before you die. So now if we've got 50 million black people in America, and each one of us resolve that we will inspire at least one person a day, you're talking about 100 million black people being inspired with positive energy and not negative energy every single day. So I want you to try it as a resolution. No matter what you're going through, no matter how you feel, no matter how bleak things seem for you personally, strive to do something to inspire at least one person every single day. And we should do that all throughout Black America and see how it works. Number 13, disaster preparedness. As a community, we have to make a resolution to be more prepared for these disasters. Now, I'm going to be straight up with you and tell you that the United States of America is under the divine judgment of God, which is why you see floods in the South where we live. You see I don't even know if you can just call them wildfires anymore. Like California was a barbecue pit this year. And then that's out west. And then on the East Coast, record snow, record rain. And so as these judgments are taking place on the outskirts of America, it's pushing everybody toward the center. If you go and read the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's book, The Fall of America, it tells you all about it. He wrote about this decades ago, but we're seeing it right now. So brothers and sisters, we live in a nation that's under judgment. We must be wise and be prepared for the next disaster when it comes. It's not a matter of if it's going to come. It's just a matter of when. So you must have food stored. You must have your flashlights together and, your generators. We must have boats in places where it's, bound to flood again. And more importantly, we must develop a network in our neighborhoods where we look out for one another pending these natural disasters. Remember, our unity can solve all of our problems, or the vast majority of them. Unity can solve the vast majority of our problems. It's no different with these natural disasters. Let's get prepared. Number 12. Last but not least, and some of you will say, well, this should have been first. Well, it's last because I don't want you to forget it. Brothers, we must do a better job at respecting, protecting, and elevating the mother of civilization, the black woman. Each and every one of us would not even be here were it not for the black woman. I've been seeing a lot of domestic violence going on in our community. Brothers who can't handle women with this, so they resort to this. And I don't want to turn this into a tirade about domestic violence. I want to keep the energy alive when we talk about these resolutions. But brother, every time you see a black woman, I want you to pretend that you're looking at your mother. Pretend that you're looking at your sister. Pretend that you're looking at your daughter. And if you would just treat every sister that you can in a way that you would want someone to treat your own daughter or your own mother, that in and of itself helps to solve the problem. In order for our ideas to be executed throughout the future, we have to produce generations that will be bright and brilliant enough to execute those ideas and make them real. But they cannot be made real if we don't produce powerful generations, and there will be no powerful generation except they come through the black woman. So I want to end our talk with saying we must learn to disagree without being disrespectful. We must resolve to become a healthier people. We must get serious about the security of our people and our communities. We must resolve to educate our children properly. We must get serious about economics, serious about a cultural revolution, serious about mentorship, a black political agenda, family, inspiring at least one person a day, disaster preparedness, and we must get serious about respecting and protecting black women. Peace.